Thank you. All right, Mr. Speaker, floor is yours.
Well, let me say, first of all, I have admired Anne's work for a very long time. I think she's a consummate professional. I don't happen to agree with this poll, but I think there can be anomalies, that we can talk about later. You introduced me on your show to Seth Keshel, who focuses on registration patterns, and I was sufficiently perturbed by the Iowa results that I went to him among 7 or 8 other people. And it was fascinating because he essentially thinks that it is extraordinarily improbable, just given patterns that have been building. And of course, you did have an alternative poll that came out about the same time that shows Trump winning, I think, by 10 in Iowa. So, and I checked in with Linda Upmeyer, the former Speaker of the House, and she said they had no indications anywhere in any of their counties of the kind of erosion this would imply. But I think you have to expect this at this point. I mean, the truth is, this is a hard-fought campaign, and I think Keshel's work, if you believe it, in terms of the registration patterns, would imply that we are much closer to a Reagan-Carter result than we are to 2016 or 2020. And we'll have to wait and see when the first votes come in. But if you look at the early voting patterns in virtually every one of the swing states, they're staggering. So I would say Anne's contribution, certainly she is so well respected that everybody who is serious about politics last night got busy calling friends and emailing friends and trying to figure out what the devil's going on. We'll see. It could be a harbinger of a dramatic change, or it could be one of those occasions when that particular snapshot didn't work. I mean, we had when Engler ran for governor against the incumbent the Saturday before the election, one of the Detroit papers had Engler losing by 19, and he won on Tuesday. So you just, if you get the wrong sample at the wrong moment, even if you're extraordinarily competent, it doesn't work. So if I had to bet, my bet is that Trump will carry Iowa by 6 to 10 points. But I have enormous respect for Anne and recognize it at least has me thinking differently.
Yeah. Do you want to ask Anne a question, Mr. Speaker?
No, I would just say that, as you know, there's a lot of argumentation about exactly how the various subgroups work, and I think that's part of what the question is all about. I'm curious, when you saw the numbers, I mean, did you have a sort of temptation to go back and double check?
We always double check. I'm not sure what you mean by it, but we double check, we triple check. And especially if a number is surprising to us, we want to be sure we understand it. And how, whether there's something amiss. It virtually always happens that we're able to substantiate things. So, for example, in our preliminary briefing with the Des Moines Register reporters and editors, the first thing I did was walk them through the history of demographics of likely voters from our polls. So for the last, 6 to 8 polls, so that they could see that things lined up. There weren't surprises. There wasn't a sudden jump in college educated. There wasn't a sudden jump in evangelicals or drop in evangelicals for that matter. That the income breaks, everything looks consistent, normal variation of a point or two. So once you see that your demographics are aligned with what you've had before, it makes, again, it gives you some respite from the anxiety that something might be amiss.
One of the questions I got,
please.
Is, in your own mind, how do you parse the difference between the simultaneous release of a poll that shows Trump winning by 10, as you're showing, I think Kamala's winning by 4 in yours? I mean, how do you sort of think through, were they just wrong, or does it mean we actually don't know?
They have a completely different method, and they take things into account in weighting, which is the principal investigator, whoever that might be, deciding that they know better than what the data could show them what that future electorate is going to look like.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for coming on. I think it's
Thank
very
you.
Thank you, Mr.
Good
Speaker.
to see you again, Mr. Speaker.
helpful. Yes, yeah.
And what's the biggest demographic shift in your survey from previous? Or you're saying they're all small?
There are none of them that don't sort of counter out. So we weight by age, so our age looks good, except that we have a larger number of 65 and over because a larger proportion qualified for that. Our married number looks just right, whether you have children in your household, education, not much, religion, not much, roughly the same number, proportion of evangelicals. We had slightly fewer people who live in cities than we've seen before, especially in the September poll, a larger number of people who live in rural areas. Both of those things would suggest our Democratic number should be lower because
Right.
cities go
Yeah.
Democrat, rural
Yeah.
areas go Republican. So it's a reverse
Yeah.
indicator there. Income lines up almost perfectly without any variation, and we don't touch income.